Hello, 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 folks. Let's kick on over to the video stream, whatnot. There we go. Today, we are working down here. I've done a little bit of off-camera work, mostly gathering wood because I've burnt through, like, all of it. Well, not literally burnt, but, you know, you get the gist. I've gone through a bunch. But we are going to make some more progress down below, and I've actually done a little bit of work already, which I'm going to show you down here. So if you don't know, we're going for a big old mirrored effect down here in the floor of the MEGABASE, which basically means we have to rebuild all of this upside down. It's a big effort, and we haven't even finished up there because we've put gears and cogs on there and there, but we still need to put it throughout all the other segments and fill out these little alcoves with more like machinery and whatnot. Let me get music going. Shuffle. Where are we starting at? This is a good one. Whoop. Alrighty. So, this area was already pretty much done last time we were on. But now, I've done a little bit of work down here. It is slow going. Certain parts of it I don't think I necessarily need to do. For example, like, nobody's gonna be able to see this platform, like the underside of it, from above. So, getting all the dark stripped out for it seems so unnecessary. Unless I end up being able to see it, in which case, fuck, I guess I'll have to change it. But for the time being, we can just work with what we've got. And I have a little bit gone down into the next layer, but not much. We will show that as soon as I finish kind of... This is just a layer of the plain plank, yeah? Okay, so we just kind of go across here. The tricky thing is I want it to be an exact replica of up above, you know, besides being upside down, obviously, because I want that effect of the mirror ring to be really accurate. I want you to be able to move around and be like, that looks basically the exact same as above. So that's gonna take some work, but I think it'll look really cool at the end of it. And it'll give us a really interesting main hall for the MEGABASE, make everything very exciting, very appealing, visually speaking. So I'm very committed to this concept. I mean, if I wasn't committed at the beginning, I would have been after I dug out this huge hole, so. Oh. Let's just polish off this wall over here. So I do want to talk about some more plans for this world as a whole. So I do want to get a tree farm going at some point, similar to what I've got on the Sun SMP. Speaking of the Sun SMP, it is coming back, but right now the server is down because of just various issues with Minecraft. The people who know about fixing that kind of thing are working on fixing it. I believe Small is the main one fixing it, and they are doing a wonderful job, working very hard. We love and appreciate Small in this household. But like, just as a heads up, Sun SMP, it's gonna be a while. No idea how long, but you know, we'll see. This is kind of dark, but it should be okay. None of these blocks are spawnable, I don't believe. But yeah, Sun SMP, it's gonna be a little while. So I know that I've already, like, done a tree farm, and I'm probably going to use the same one just because it's really good. But I'm probably either going to do it off stream or not do it soon, just because, like, you know, I don't want to repeat the same stream twice. That's dull. What am I doing? I can totally salvage wood if I just... Okay, so I need to grab that. Do I not? Okay, I guess I don't have any. Whoop, that's not what I wanted. Okay, I am a mess at the moment. And we can just stick that in there for now, because nobody is going to be able to see that part. On the other sides, I've been putting cobble in there, but if I'm out of cobble, well, I'm not out. I could go up there and have a million billion pieces, but I'm already all the way down here, and the scaffolding is so slow, so it's like, whatever. Alright, let's just pull this along till the end. Come on. Placing and stripping logs is very slow. Alright, so then we need to fill all of these up with oak, but I'm not sure. This is going to be down where the, like, inversed peak is. Howdy, howdy, Felix. We are working on the big old mirror floor. So that's something I'm going to want to figure out before I continue. I had like a screenshot, but I lost it, so we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way with our eyeballs. First, though, we gotta go take a nap. Sleep. Alright, where's my beef? So, at the top, or I guess bottom, oh, making everything upside down is a pain. So we're gonna have a pair of staircases below the walls. Man, I miss playing with Sun SMP. So do I. Playing with everybody is so much more fun. Like, I love my hardcore world. It has a very near and dear place in my heart. But playing with a group, man, just having people to chat with and just seeing builds pop up out of nowhere, it's so much more fun. Like, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. Alright, so we got a step forward, followed by, okay, I think I can at least mimic this section. Scaffolding, my beloved! Okay, so it should, we're gonna need to knock out a little bit of this because it gets a little bit trickier than just that right here. Make a big old chunk of stairs. Yeah, exactly, and sometimes you see them walking 2,000 blocks to give you bone meal. Having you come visit is always so fun. You're a lot of fun, Felix. Okay, so how did they do this again? I think it was like, okay, I'm not sure how I did this. We're gonna just have to skip these bars for now, and I'll go check them again because I don't remember what I did for those. Alright. Boop. Mimicking the shape of everything upside down is so frustrating. I keep forgetting and like being like, okay, do I put this stair on the top block or the bottom block? And does this go above or below? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be. But it is, and it's infuriating. Maybe that's just a skill issue on my part, but such is life, I suppose. Oh, don't go there. Don't go on the torch. Okay, if I stand like this, maybe it won't misplace things. Okay, well, now I just can't place things, period. I'm looking forward to the big, just pointy bit where like the ceiling upside down bit goes, because that's going to be simple. Just a bunch of oak stairs, no thinking, no worrying about lining things up. So simple, just nice and straightforward. Come on, stupid keyboard. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you can tell or not, because I personally can never tell with audio, because I guess my ears are just bad, but I'm using a new microphone. I got a new one for Christmas, And it even comes with an arm, so I can move it really close like this, or I can swivel it away. I don't even know if you can hear me, but blow, 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 blow. So, lots of adjustment, movability. Alright, I think I moved it back to the right spot. Probably shouldn't have played with it once I got it into a good spot. Anyway, it's very sensitive though. I took forever to fiddle with my settings to make it not pick up like every creak and twitch of the house that like I couldn't hear with my own plain ears. Like it is, I didn't know microphones could do that. Let's see, let's pop up to double check on this and grab like a handful of cobble as filler blocks. I'm still really happy with how this is looking like now that we've knocked out all of the little support levels. Like, it's really cool to just be able to see this whole hall opening up. Oop, came up a little hard. Maybe I can land on this. Hey! Okay. So, stair in, block above. You know, I'm gonna snag a screenshot and just have that open in another window. That'll be easier than trying to just think, because memory has never been my strong suit. How is your Christmas if you celebrate? Very fun. I absolutely do celebrate. I am so big on Christmas. Like, I'm that annoying person who's like playing Christmas music the day after Halloween, sometimes even before. I'm personally of the very strong belief everybody should have some kind of winter holiday, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or some completely non-religiously oriented thing, or fucking just getting together with your friends and eating food and getting drunk. Winter is rough. Like, seasonal depression, it's rough, y'all. So having a big party that you can look forward to and just go absolutely ham on, I personally believe it is just a fundamental human need to be able to party in the Christmas season. Right, how do I go about this? Yeah, you get me. Christmas is awesome. Other holidays are awesome. Celebrate holidays. Party the cold away. So true. You got jam until you are warm. I'm looking at a reference, like, visually, and I still am struggling to figure out how this lines up. Okay, okay, so this block is just a full sprucey bit. Probably should have brought down some spruce, but I have a million, so it's okay if I waste a little bit. And then this goes here. And I believe... my brain is working so hard right now. Smoke pouring out of my ear holes. Maybe if I turn... Oh wait, big brain moment. I can flip the screenshot upside down. That's big brain. Now it looks the right way up for me, and I can do some thinking better, hopefully. Alright. So, got this. Then it won't be visible from below just because of how everything is shaped, so I shouldn't have knocked this boy out, but what can you do? Biggest brain moments. That's what y'all come here for. My massive, staggering intellect. So, like, first of all, IQ is kind of bullshit. Like, it was made with very, it was made by very racist people and only measures very specific kinds of intelligence. IQ is not a very valuable measure of how intelligent a person is. That being said, I actually am very proud of my high IQ, because even if it doesn't mean anything, having a little, like, thing that says, like, oh yeah, you are good at this meaningless thing, it's still like, oh yeah, I got a good grade. Like, even if it's, like, absolute bullshit that isn't real, like, oh, you got an A+ in Warble Dorble. Like, I don't care if Warble Dorble is made up. I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm good at Warble Dorble. Oh yeah, I totally get you. Yeah. I think I got like a 127, and the, like, classification of genius is somebody with like 130. But like, then again, Elon Musk's claims to have like over 150, and although I don't believe him, if it is true, like, that's just further evidence that not DNA, MRI, IQ, I forgot the different acronyms. Big brain in action. But yeah, I don't believe him, but also if he's telling the truth, that's just more evidence that IQ is not the ideal measurement of intelligence. But again, IQ, not the best measure of all kinds of intelligence, or even specifically that particular kind. Very flawed, but also good grade, make brain go brr. I got high number. High number is good. This is why I can't play golf. I see big number and I go, hell yeah, I am winning. I am victorious. And it's like, no, big numbers in golf are bad. And I'm just like, I'm gonna have the biggest fucking number. Get that good grade dopamine! Okay, how do we go about shaping this? Handy dandy screenshot, what's next? Okay, so these need to have... Okay, first things first. Okay, my brain is stalling a little bit, but if I do this, it'll give me some, like, handy little, keyboard! Don't die on me! It'll give me some handy little build support thingies. Honestly, I could get, like, a grade, like, I could be like, somebody could say, like, oh yeah, you got an A grade in being a little bitch, and I'd be like, oh hell yeah, I got an A! Like, I guess I'm a little bitch, but at least I got an A in it. Like, I'd rather have an A in being a little bitch than have an F. Hell yeah! Good score! I win at the game! Monkey brain go burr. Hi son, IQ and EQ are very different. Someone could have a high IQ but also a low EQ. So they'd be smart in math or in science, but also socially smart or emotionally smart. Yeah, sorry if I said EQ when I meant IQ. Sometimes I tangle, blah, blah, blah. I mess my words. I fungle them. And again, IQ is kind of bullshit. And EQ is like, I have shit EQ, which is a very important thing. But like, blame that on the autism, baby. Like, what's, like, ugh. Time for an embarrassing story with Sun. I was like, let's say, I want to say 12, but I'm gonna say 8 because it makes it slightly less embarrassing. Love the contrast between those two messages. Explanation of IQ and EQ versus hell yeah, I'm littlest bitch. Anyway, what ramble was I on? Oh yeah, embarrassing stories with Sun. So yeah, do I want to tell this story? Okay, so I'm saying I was like 8, although I might have been more like 12, because 8 sounds slightly less embarrassing. And I was very into martial arts at the time. I was taking a mixed martial arts class. We called it karate because everybody calls it karate, but it was mixed martial arts. It was like multiple different kinds. And I was particularly into the field of grappling, which is kind of like classical wrestling where you are on the ground and like gripping each other. Hello? Give me your goop. Goop, goop, goop. Goop. And I got like very, very excited about trying to explain it to like the other girls in it was like some kind of religious study group. I grew up in a very religious area. I still live in the religious area, but like I was bad at picking up on the social cues that they were not very interested in learning about grappling, nor were they very comfortable with me talking about grabbing people and wrestling. So yeah, I just kept talking and talking and talking about it. And honestly, like, before I got good at masking, I also always felt paranoid that people were like, talking down to me. Oh no, poor baby son. Poor baby son had some very rough instances throughout life. Oh man, have I ever talked, like, I've had so many hyperfixations. One that was very big and still, like, it's not a hyperfixation anymore, but I still very much find it fascinating. That's oak, not spruce. I fucked up. Something I still find very fascinating is ninjas and ninjutsu. Now, things like anime and cartoons have confused people a lot on what ninjutsu is. Unlike what Naruto implies, it is not cool ninja magic. It's just the word for the practice of being a ninja. It's like, it's very fascinating stuff, but like, ninjutsu it's not magic. It's an actual thing, and it was the practice of ninja stuff. But like, ninjas were fascinating people. Like, the stuff they got up to, man. Oh, another interesting fact. Black was not a commonly worn color for ninjas. They actually more commonly wore colors like dark greens, browns, navies, and in snowy weather, whites. Because seeing somebody in stark black, even at night, is going to, like, they're going to stand out more against the night sky than a dark navy. So wearing navy actually caused them to blend in better than black. So, like, ninja clothing would always be dependent on blending in. So, modern ninjas might wear camo print. Unfortunately, that's somewhat less cool. But, like, reading about various ninjas, and to a lesser extent samurai, I found ninja more interesting as a itty-bitty baby son. But, like, it's just very fascinating, like, lifestyles and cultures. And another thing that I really love, this is more on the samurai end than the ninja end, and I did prefer the ninja because, you know, be gay, do crime, and whatnot. Samurai were very, like, besides, like, the whole regimented and kind of somewhat famous, like, idea of, like, them being like, oh, my honor's been besmirched, time to fucking die. Like, that's pretty well known. But something that's less talked about is samurai were very artistic people. They spent a lot of time practicing poetry and painting and writing, and it was like they did a lot of time they spent a lot of time on artistic pursuits, which is actually another reason I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, which might seem like a sudden jump, but in the episode where, did I already do this one? What am I doing? In the episode where Sokka he makes his sword out of the meteor and he's training to be a better sword fighter, he is told to do painting. And that is actually something that was very common with samurai. They would paint because it's like a regimented way of just kind of recognizing the beauty in the world. I believe, if I recall correctly, and again, don't take me as a primary source, it was in part related to, like, not taking life for granted, because if you are in a culture that values life, as most human cultures do, if your job is killing people, it's generally good to, like, make sure the people whose job is to do the killing are reminded, you know, those are human beings. Like, they deserve respect and fair treatment, and also respect humans in general, you know? Like, it's something where it's like, I understand where it came from, and it's very fascinating. Oh, speaking of Japanese culture. Okay, so not to be a weeb, I love Japan. I'm very fascinated by their culture. I actually spent a study abroad session there, and, like, there's a lot of memes of people who are like, oh my gosh, Japan wasn't just like anime, I'm so betrayed. I went there and it was a lot like anime. Not like Dragon Ball or what have you, but like slice of life, particularly like Ghibli slice of life. Like, it really is like that, and it's beautiful, and the people I met were very kind and welcoming, and like, it's just an amazing country, and if you get a chance to travel there, you absolutely should. At the end of my study abroad trip, my parents actually came to pick me up because they also just wanted to go to Japan. And my dad left his backpack on a public train. And his backpack had his laptop with all of his work documents. It had his wallet with all of his money. It had his passport and his ID and basically everything. And he had to go for 2 hours to find it. And it had just been turned in. Nobody stole it. Like, I cannot think of a single public transport system in the US where that would not happen. Like, they are just very honest, and there are people who have very strong integrity. Like, there are some people who steal. Like, crime is just kind of a thing in the universe. But, like, their culture is much more focused on community than American culture, where individualism tends to be treated as more important. And as a result, this does have some negative effects, as with everything. But, like, yeah, it would have been stolen right away in the States, because we have a culture focused on, like, individuals. So it's like, well, this would benefit me to take this abandoned backpack, so I'm gonna do it. But, like, while having a culture centralized on, like, a community instead of, like, individuals has its flaws, it also has some really wonderful advantages, and it's, like, it's just a wonderful place. Also, I fell in love with Japanese curry. I like, went to this one curry shop on the same road as my host family's house, because it was the kind of study abroad where you live with a family, and they're such sweet people. It's been like 3 years. I still get regular messages from them. They send me Christmas and New Year's cards. Like, they're so lovely. My time in Japan was amazing and, like, literally life-changing. I sound like such a dork and a dweeb and a nerd, but it's true. One of my best memories wasn't going to, like, some fancy place, though I had many fancy places that were very fun. But, like, they took me to visit, my host family took me to visit their parents and their children's grandparents' home. And, like, they just had this, like, little garden on the side of their house, and it was full of these tiny frogs you could just pick up in your hands. And they were just so calm and quiet, and it was so cute. And as we drove home, like, the sun was setting over these rice paddies that were around the house, and, like, it was amazing. I love visiting other cultures, and Japan is one of the ones that fascinates me the most. Really glad you had a good time? I did! It was amazing. Study abroad is really just the coolest thing. And if you get a chance to do it, wherever it is to, like, whatever the location is, you should do it. I want to hold a frog now. Holding a frog is such a good feeling. Like, it's just this tiny little sticky boy. That sounds so pretty. It was. Like, oh man. It was gorgeous. I live in a very dry area, and it's not very humid. Like, it's dry, it's hot, it is a desert, and, like, going to places, whether they be outside of my state or another country, like, I'm always blown away by how green things are. Like, greens where I live are so desaturated that, like, first time going out of state as a kid, I was like, oh my god, movies and TV weren't lying. There are actually colors like this in nature. This is real stuff. It blew my mind. Oh. I've always been fascinated by other cultures and other people. Like, just anthropology is fascinating to me, and, like, the different ways people develop their culture and their belief systems and their morals. Like, it's just amazing. And I actually used to be very fascinated with Hawaii. Hawaiian culture and history is amazing and beautiful, but I don't really want to go there because I've learned a lot about how harmful the tourism industry is and how much they've been exploited by America. So, like, whenever my parents are like, hey, do you still want to go to Hawaii once you can go on your own? And I'm like, oh, not really. And they're like, what? I thought you loved Hawaii. And it's like, well, yeah, It's part of why I don't really want to go. If we can get to a place in the time where I can visit Hawaii and the tourism will benefit the people instead of just big corporations exploiting them, I'd love to. Oh, I feel you. Same for me, everything in summer. It's brown. Dude, it's mind-boggling to me that there are places where it's just green. Like, that color is supposed to be in books and TV shows. They're supposed to be just turning up the saturation slider. What do you mean that's real? Like, my time in Japan was just amazing. If you get a chance to study abroad, wherever it is, seeing how different people live is amazing. And I really think it's also good for building empathy for different people. Like, the more you learn about the world and other people, you realize, like, we're all very different, but we're all, like, kind of the same deep down. We love our families, we have hopes and dreams and ambitions, and it's like, you know, people are people no matter where you go. Okay, now, what the fuck am I doing? Alright, I think I need to shred out this section. There is one thing that is slightly negative about my trip to Japan, and it's negative in a very first world countries type of way. Not to say Japan isn't a first world country. I mean, it's negative as in, like, negative as in a very silly way that doesn't really matter. I got a beautiful yukata while I was there, which, if you don't know, it's kind of similar to a kimono, except it's specifically worn in summertime usually, because it's less heavy and more adapted to warmer weather, mainly by having shorter sleeves. And it's beautiful and amazing, but, like, I don't really have a lot of opportunities to wear it, even though it's so pretty. Like, when am I gonna wear it in America? Especially when I don't go to any fancy events ever. But I did wear it to, like, the quote-unquote graduation of the study abroad trip, and it was just wonderful. I had such a good time. Yeah, that's what I'm happy about with a lot of people being able to connect through the internet. Yeah, like, I feel like the world feels a lot smaller, but not in a bad way. In a more, like, in a way where, like, community feels possible even at large scales. Which is nice. Like, it's good. I very much approve. Also, I've met people who I never would have otherwise been able to meet. Like, I've got friends from, like, all different states and countries and places where, and they're, like, people who I really cherish and never would have been able to meet otherwise. Which is also very weird for me because I grew up in the area where internet safety was taken very seriously. It's kind of worrying how lax it is with children these days. Like, you'll see children posting, like, oh yeah, I go to this school in this state, like, on a very public forum, and you'll be like, no! The bad guys are gonna get you! Stop! You fool! Like, I grew up in the age where they were like, okay, if somebody even asks, like, what kind of food do you eat? They're probably asking so they can reverse engineer where you live, and you should turn off your internet connection immediately. And, like, it's still, they're, like, the thing is, the majority of people on the internet aren't creeps, but because the internet is so vast, they are there, and so many people, like, young folks these days, are just like, oh, don't be such a boomer. Like, it's just the internet, it's fine. And it's like, no, I'm not being a boomer. The internet is great, but, like, stranger danger applies to the internet as well. There are stalkers and creeps, baddies and villains. Be careful! Be careful, don't be scared. That's fair. Except if you have crippling anxiety like me and are scared of everything. Like, dude, my anxiety is so bad. Oh, I used to, like, physically cause myself to vomit. Not, like, intentionally. I wasn't, like, poking down my throat or anything. Like, I would vomit before going to school because I was just so anxious about being around other children my same age. Like, I forgot to get dark oak, god damn it! Like, also, in, like, retrospect, I think I have, like, gut issues that may have contributed to it, but, like, there was one day where I, like, legitimately vomited before going to school, so my mom, like, had me stay home, and then I was fine. I was fine once there was no longer the looming threat of being around other children. Reflecting on my childhood is kind of weird, because I think I was bullied, but I don't know. And that sounds weird, and I don't mean it in, like, I think I might have been traumatized by it and blocked it out. It's more like, I don't know if I can trust my own judgment of that, in part because of my autistic nature, and in part because I just have terrible memory. Like, it's hard for me to know, like, how much was people intentionally being a dick, and how much was me perceiving just normal child behavior as an intentional means of hurting me. Like, it's frustrating, because, like, I might have been bullied, but, like, I don't remember the specifics enough to be sure, and it really could have just been me misreading cues, or overreacting because of, like, my mental illnesses. And that sucks! Like, I'd like to know for... Oh, Miss Sadie needs to leave the room. Pausing! Anyway, it sucks. Like, regardless of whether or not those children were intending to be dicks, like, I still had the emotional response as if they were intending to be bullies. So it's like, from my perspective, technically it doesn't matter because I still felt harmed by it, but at the same time, like, I feel weird. Because, like, did those people hurt me on purpose or not? And am I a bad person for being hurt when people don't intend it? Mental health is weird, man. It's like, just, is your meat sack in the right or is your meat sack in the wrong? It's weird. Honestly, at this point in my life, I just figure, like, okay, well, regardless of whether those children intended to emotionally hurt me or not, I'm in a much better place now, and I also don't know any of them anymore, so it kind of doesn't matter. So, like, but, like, it's still weird, especially because I like knowing things. I want to know, did those children intend to be mean to me, or was I just dealing with some of my own shit so badly that I assumed they were? The brain folds are struggling. They are always struggling. So apparently, like, people's brains can be quiet. Like, it's wild to me that neurotypical people can have, like, their brain just chill sometimes. Like, I can't imagine not having my brain kind of always moving. And this isn't meant to be in, like, a, oh, I'm so intelligent, my brain is always on kind of way. Because, like, the vast, vast majority of the thoughts going on in my brain aren't good. They're just things like, that is sound, that is sound, that is sound, light, light, input. Like, there's just, like, my brain is just processing everything all the time, which does not make me more intelligent. In fact, it is probably making me less intelligent because I can't think clearly because my brain is so full of things and stuff. But, like, when I found out that sometimes people's brains just don't do anything, I was like, well, no wonder the fuck I'd get terrible sleep. My brain doesn't turn off. People have, like, an off switch. They can just chill. It's like, that's wild. Oh, one of the things I got for Christmas from my brother is a little pendant of Hornet from Hollow Knight. And this is gonna sound very silly, but it's something that makes me very happy. Originally, he was going to buy me Hollow Knight because he was looking up video games to buy for my brother, and he read about it and he was like, hey, this game really seems like something Son would be into. But then he found out that I already had it, so it was like, oh, well, okay, I guess I'm not getting that for them. But, like, the fact that he picked up on that was something that I would like when Hollow Knight has been one of my, like, hyperfixations for like a year or two, and like he just kind of picked up on the fact that this is something that I would enjoy without realizing that I already was obsessed with it. Like, it's like, oh, he knows me! He knows me pretty well! Also, yes, Hornet is amazing, and I need Silk Song yesterday, frothing at the mouth. I think when Silk Song it does eventually come out, please let it come out, please let it happen. I need it. I'm probably gonna play it on the PC, which is gonna be weird for me, because I played Hollow Knight on my Switch. Played implies that I'm not still playing it. I've completed it multiple times, but like, I still keep playing it. No, music, don't pause! Ah, fiddly bits. Why did it go full screen? I did not say to go full screen. Stop. Help! I'm trapped in purgatory. I can't even see chat because my full screen is taken. Okay, let's maybe close window. Okay, now I'm gonna have to reopen all my things, but at least I'm not trapped. Oh no, it's back! Back in the void! Oh god. Is it not? It's not, for some reason it's not Windows, it's Streamlabs? Well, I can't close it because I'm live. Oh, this is terrible. Okay. Is there a way to... The music gods have forsaken us. Oh god. Oh god. Fix. Computer, be fixed. Go back to working. Head in my hands, crying, sobbing, dying, etc. Alright. Chill Stream Vibes playlist. Music. Shuffle. You know, this is probably a great time to take a break and go fill my water up because my lungs are gonna pop. Let me just get this music going, and then I'm going to leave you guys. I'm gonna go get some milk. Is the music playing? There we go. Alright, let me put up my BRB screen, and I'm going to go and fill up my water. When I come back, I'm probably gonna just rant about my love for Hollow Knight. Back to Minecraft. Actually, I'm gonna pull up some things to show off to y'all. Okay, so Hollow Knight, very big Hollow Knight fan. So I've beaten it 3 times. I'd like to beat it 4. Okay, so there are 4 big endings. I've gotten all of them. Very proud of myself for that. All of them except for the hardest one. Got to the ending. But like, defense, I have really bad Joy-Con drift, which sounds like an excuse, but like, it's bad into my brain. And the thing about when I get obsessed with something is I start making original characters. I'm a dork, in case you haven't noticed already. And I want to show off one of my favorite original characters I made for Hollow Knight, because he's such a little dude. He's such a little guy. He is a little vessel, and his name is Squire. You may want to turn the music down a bit. Is it loud? Is that better? This is Squire. I've got of my boy. There's him being sad because I love it when my characters are hurting. I love their suffering. It brings me joy. The music was kind of playing over me. Oh, dude. In the future, let me know if it's going to be too loud, but I'm totally happy to put things down. Poor Squire. He later adopts a bunch of life seeds and it's like, these are my children and I defend them. Love him. Love this boy. And I've got one more picture I want to share because it's so cute. I'm very proud of this little dude. I haven't digitized it. Look at this guy. Look at him. He's so small. I love him. Anyway, when I get hyped on something, I'm just like, oh yeah, character time. I make so many characters. I've got like a whole bin full of characters just rolling around in my pocket. He is so tiny. He fits in your pocket. Pocket-sized boy. Anyway, that's my little tangent about my Hollow Knight guys. He's my favorite of my Hollow Knight. So, God knows I have too many of them. Alright, let's get back to... After this, I need to go get some more food because I have the munchies. Actually, I might need to go get food now because I can feel my blood sugar like flagging, and I don't know if I'll have the energy to make it through the rest of stream if I don't get some snackers. Okay, we're going back on break. Sorry, y'all. I'm back! What was that sound? Oh! Another very important Christmas present I got this year was a pair of little doggy stairs. They are very rad, and they allow Miss Sadie to climb up onto my bed without making huge jumps that are like 2.5 times as tall as she is. Oh, you're so cute! You're so cute, baby girl! She loves the stairs, uses them all the time. Mr. Otis, however, despite being even slightly shorter than her, kind of ignores them. Like, he's an old dog. He's part of the reason I wanted the stairs. He'll just straight jump onto my bed, like, full-on Olympic leap. He'll use them to, like, get down, which makes sense, because, like, that's probably the rougher angle on his joints. I needed 2, and I made over a stack. Anyway, they're getting good use. Miss Sadie likes to be able to go up and down as much as she pleases anyway. I don't even know the next time I'm gonna use trapdoors. I have so many. Well, at least I did a bunch of grinding for wood. Sometimes I get on this world off I'm out of oak. God damn it! I did a lot of grinding! How do I not have enough? I'm gonna lose my frickin' McShit. Okay. Deep breaths. Calm. We will figure it out. I mustn't swear in front of Miss Sadie. She's a lady. Can't be exposed to that kind of language. Oh, whoa. That popped in fast. Let's see. These bigger trees are so annoying because, like, I feel like my computer runs better when I don't have leaf transparency on. But with the bigger trees, like, if I don't have it on, I'll always miss like 1 or 2 logs and it'll just stay floating forever. And I'll be like, shouldn't those leaves have despawned by now? But no, there was a secret log infecting them. Goddamn infuriating. I've been watching a lot of videos on how to improve your streaming quality, and like, I got some very concerning news. Apparently Twitch is just like the worst. Like, not to get my channel ghost banned or anything, but like, it's just like the worst place for growth, which definitely was a little bit concerning to hear, but like, it's also fun. And I've thought about maybe doing some streams on YouTube just to see what it's like, because apparently it's better. Like, apparently, but I've never used it, and I don't like new things. And I'm scared of change. I don't know. But I've also been doing things like looking into TikTok. In case it's not clear, I don't like TikTok. Like, it's not even like, I'm gonna put aside like the whole like moral panic over it, because I'm not an expert on that kind of thing. Violence. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. Hey, death. Anyway, putting aside like the whole moral concerns over it, because like, honestly, I don't want to be like that old person, says the 21-year-old. I don't want to be that person who's like, oh, the modern thing is bad because it's modern. Like, TikTok never was for me, and although I am concerned about like how much data it harvests, like that's no bueno. My main problem with TikTok is I just don't like it. It's just personal preference. I don't get it. Like, there are some things on there where it's like, oh, that'd be cool to be a part of, not worth getting on TikTok. Like, something about the platform is just, it's like, ew. Ew. And the addition of YouTube Shorts has not made me any more amenable to the idea, because if it's even marginally like YouTube Shorts, it's just stolen content, lazy content, stolen content, lazy content, weird content, bad content. Speaking of YouTube, okay, so like on my home computer I use an ad blocker because life is too short for advertisements. Like, I don't want to hear about this bullshit thing I'm never gonna buy when I could be, you know, watching the video that I want to watch. But then, like, both on the app when I'm on my phone and when I'm at, like, my job using my work computer, which I'm allowed to do, I'm not being naughty. Not in that regard, at least. Like, I get, like, so many, like, really weird, intensely conservative advertisements. Like, I got this one about, like, the Tuttle Twins, which is, like, a children's book, but it's about conservatism, and it's, like, it was this advertisement where they had kids at school complaining about how, like, everything in school was socialist propaganda, and they wanted something that gives them patriotism and not socialism and free market. And it's like, half of this stuff children do not and should not have to give a shit about, and half of this stuff is just straight up nonsensical. Like, and then I watched this one, like, where it was like a really, really weird, like, I can't tell if it was pro-life or pro-anti-business. Like, it was this really weird ad series where it was, like, about companies being like, oh, you don't want to get an abortion? You got pregnant on purpose? Like, but it's, like, companies pressuring women to it. And, like, companies aren't pressuring women to abortions, especially not after Roe v. Wade, and they acknowledge that they won Roe v. Wade. Like, it's so weird. Like, I'm not conservative, so these ads just kind of, like, 3, 4, I'm bad at counting. These ads, like, are meaningless to me and will never appeal to me. 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. But, like, on top of just being meaningless to me, like, I can't imagine how they appeal to anyone, even people who already agree with them, because they're just so bizarre. Like, even if, like, their accusations were accurate, it wouldn't really be a reason to be pro-life so much as just a reason to put more control on big business, which is typically something conservatives hate. So it's like, I'm confused. What are you asking for? I know that ad, it's weird. I've seen 2 of them that are by the same people who do 2 different things. One of them, it's just like them talking about, like, oh, you wanted to have you had a baby on purpose? What are you, a boomer? And it's like, what? And then the other one, the quote-unquote villain of the ad, had a giant painting of Ruth Bader Ginsburg as the Justice Tarot card on his mansion wall, which, like, what? Like, it's so weird. Like, how, like, even if people already believe the garbage these people are talking about, like, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, it's frankly none of my business, but, like, even if you, like, agree with these people, like, they're making their arguments in such a bad, stupid way. Personally, I'm pro-choice. People should have a choice whether that is to have a baby or not have a baby. That's just life. But, like, it's... why? Why have... I don't know. They're just so bad. Reminds me of that PragerU Christmas ad where it's like, George Washington saw you watching TV with all of its socialist propaganda, so he came to your house and turned on PragerU. Like, why is it a Christmas ad? Why is George Washington alive and breaking into people's house to tell them what TV to watch? Like, what's going on? I don't feel comfortable. Why is George Washington in my house? I didn't ask for him to be here. I don't get it. Like, if you're gonna make a political ad, at least make it good. This sounds like a fever dream. I don't want to get political, but like 90% of conservative content is a fever dream. Like, I don't know what these people are going on about. And like, if you're going to make arguments, whether or not I agree with them, make them in a good way. Make them like actually impactful and convincing and worth considering, and not just like, hey, do you also hate socialism? George Washington is going to break into your house, make love to your children, and teach them about the goodness of America and how everything America does is good always. And it's like, why is George Washington here? Isn't he dead? Why is he wearing a leotard covered in American stripes? It's so weird, man. I wish I brought my scaffolding, but I didn't. Anyway, politics are bleh, so I'm gonna stop talking about those and start talking about capitalism! So, okay. And by talking about capitalism, I mean talking about, like, the job I worked before my current job, which was grocery bagger for a Kroger grocery store. It was not a very good job. I was miserable all the time. Like, you never learn how to hate another human being until you work in, like, a minimum wage grocery or retail type job. Like, I experienced more hatred in my soul working that job than in the rest of my life combined. Like, I would just, like, a woman would have a crying child, and I would think, oh my god, I wish that kid would just die. And then I would just stop and think, like, what the hell? What is wrong with me? I've never had thoughts like that before. And I was like, that kid didn't do anything wrong. Why am I thinking like this? It's just a very small child who's upset. But it's like, you just feel so much loathing for the world. Probably because you are treated as a second-rate human being, if you are treated as a human being at all. But like, it is just, it is a slimy, slimy time. Do not recommend. If you can find a better job, take it. I'm trying to think if I have any good stories, but like, all I have is just the vague memory of how unpleasant everything was all the time. Like, everybody was gossiping and being a bitch. I also remember this one lady complaining to me about a different coworker being autistic, and I was just like, oh, okay. Didn't mention I was autistic because, yikes. What the fuck? But like, ugh. What is it with, like, the majority of minimum wage jobs just hating you? Like, I don't know, man. I think we should remove all jobs from society, ever. No more jobs. Everybody should just have things. And I'm sure that it'll all work out, even if nobody does anything ever again. My brain is starting to get a little bit spacey. Let's see, what is something interesting we can talk about? Speaking of space, I love space! Okay, so, When I say Betelgeuse, it sounds like Beetlejuice. But I am not talking about the very catchy musical. No. I am talking about a star. Like the in the sky type, not the... That should probably be obvious from context clues. Anyway. Oh, man. So, Betelgeuse is a star. I believe it is either in or very close to Orion's belt. And the thing about this star is it is old as balls. Like, this star is just so old. Like, imagine your elderly grandma who's got, like, one foot in the grave, barely can get anywhere without her walker, like, and you, like, wonder, like, is she alive? Like, the Queen Elizabeth of stars type deal. Is that insensitive? Whatever, I don't care. That sounded mean. Anyway, it's an old-ass star. Very, very old. In fact, it's so old that it could die at any moment. Which, in the context of stars, any moment could be anywhere from, like, this instant to 300, 500 more years. Like, any second in star terms is a long time, but, like, if it does not die in my lifetime, then, like, I will be so pissed. If I'm on my deathbed and Betelgeuse has not died before me, I'm gonna, like, just stay alive out of spite, honestly. So, Betelgeuse is not close enough that when it dies, it will hurt us. When it dies, we're all gonna be fine. It's super, super far away. But it will be close enough that when it goes supernova and dies and goes poof, we'll be able to see it. And when I say we'll be able to see it, I mean, depending on the time of year, whether it's like winter or summer because of different hemispheres, either it will be so bright that nighttime will basically look like daytime. We'll basically, for like about a week or two, have two suns. Or, if it happens during the day, it'll look like there are two suns in the sky. Like, so basically it's gonna temporarily, like for a week or two, make it look like we have a second sun. It's not gonna be close enough to like fuck up our environment drastically. Maybe like really freak out some animals who don't understand space. For a week or two. It's like unclear how long it'll go on, but like we will be able to witness this dying star in our sky as bright as if it were daytime or with like two suns, depending on the hemisphere and the season. I'm like, if that does not happen in my lifetime, god damn, I am gonna be so mad. Because that is the coolest shit. I learned this in my college astronomy class. And like the teacher was so excited to tell us, and I was like, holy shit, she's right to be excited. This is the coolest thing ever. If it does not happen in my life, like, it is so insane. It is so insane. Space is so wild, man. And like, it has a decent chance of occurring in our lifetime, but like, it could also occur 500 years from now. So, a decent chance, but also a decent chance of not. Like, we don't really have any way of knowing because we don't know enough about, like, telling when a star is about to die within a human timescale. Again, very close to death for a star could be hundreds and hundreds of years. But, like, dude, please let it be in my lifetime. Please, 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 please. I should probably go get some, lichen for these. Keep them lit up, but we'll do that in a minute. And by a minute, I mean right now. Anyway, space is wild, man. Like, astronomy is just the coolest shit. And, like, the more you learn about it, the more I'm like, okay, I get why astrology was invented. Because if stars can do this shit, I would almost be unsurprised by them being able to predict the future. I don't believe in astronomy I don't believe in astronomy. I don't believe in astrology myself, but, like, knowing what I do about astronomy, like, I can see where the idea of astrology came from, because, like, holy shit. Stars can do some crazy stuff. We've also found like several planets that are theoretically capable of bearing life, but they're just so fucking far away. We have no way of knowing if they do have life or not. Whether that's like plant life or like animal life or even intelligent life. Speaking of intelligent life a la aliens, it's always wild to me when people say like, well, if aliens existed, they would 100% for sure have contacted us by now. Like, if it was movie aliens, sure, but like realistically speaking, aliens are just another species, and even if they are an intelligent species, which like we can't be sure of because we don't know how common it is for sapiens to evolve, like even if there are other sapient species out in the cosmos somewhere, like maybe they're at like their medieval stage. Maybe they're like still living in huts and hunting and don't have technology. Like, why do we always assume that if aliens exist, they'll be ahead of us? Fuck, we might be the first aliens? Maybe we're the last ones? We don't know. We could be the first. That's actually a pretty, known theory. There's also this idea that, like, if aliens exist and they come to Earth, then even if they're well-meaning, it'll be a likely extinction event for humanity because of, like, basically think of all the times that humans have gone from one place to another and seen, like, a new culture and how many times that culture ends up getting destroyed. Again, like what happened with America and Hawaii. But, like, that would assume that aliens have a similar way of behavior to humans, which we can't say for sure. Oh, come on, dude. Littering is not cool. Take your stupid dirt block somewhere else. If you want grass on it, you're gonna have to take it back outside, because I am not putting up with this shit today. Me to the aliens. But yeah, like, I personally do believe aliens exist. Not in a conspiracy theory type of way so much as just like a... Statistically, considering how big the universe is, it would be kind of weird if there weren't other alive things out there, you know? Kind of way. And I think it would be very neat if those other alive things were sapient and, like, intelligent life forms. Are they? I don't know. I live here, on Earth. I'm a human being. I have human flesh, and skin, and bones. I wouldn't know. Don't ask questions. But, like, for real. Anyway. Excuse me, sir? Sir? Please do not spit me, llamas, or you will die too. You give me no choice. Oh, I actually shouldn't have killed these guys because I don't have llamas yet, but I started injuring them, so it's too late. Where's the other one? Where did he run to? No survivors. Is he down there? No? You win this round, llama. Really? Where did that guy go? Cave? He must have fallen off a ledge. And I guess died, but I didn't see him come far enough over here to hit a ledge yet. Huh. He's escaped to plot his revenge. You may have escaped me this time, brown llama. But next time, your flesh will be mine. Look upon your brethren and weep. Actually, I'm gonna keep that leather as kind of a pain to gather. I need to make an easier way up and down. This is so annoying. And, like, the proper, like, bridges and stairs and whatever. I'd really also like to do some mild terraforming. It's not my specialty, but, like, just kind of reshape some of the rock formations, add, like, trees growing out of the cliffs. Just cool things like that. Miss Sadie, you are snoring so loud. Do you have sleep apnea? She's one of those dogs who loves to stare. If she's not looking at me, she's not content. Which is kind of weird, but flattering, I guess. Oh, rolling over. Do you need a belly rub? Rub, 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 rub. God, she's so fucking cute. You may have escaped me, and I thought of saying that to Perry the Platypus. Ah, Perry the Platypus, you may have escaped me this time, but next time you will not foil my plans. Probably not a very good impression, but god damn, I love me a doof. So this probably makes it non-spawnable, maybe, but it's also like more subtle than if I put it flat down. We're about to start getting low enough that I'll have to take out the beacon. Not sure how I want to do that. Did I not go low enough on this one? Oh well. Yeah, this one I didn't go all the way down. Can I use the glow lichen as like a build-off point, or probably not? Let's just go like, well, let's try. If we go like, nope. Eh. Let's see. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to. Awkwardly gotta just finagle this into place. Do I have a... Yeah. Okay, then we gotta break that piece. Nope, that... Ah! Excuse me? Excuse me, I do not recall you being invited into my home. Tragic. I suppose you'll perish then. What can I throw out? Let's go like this. Alright, how do we want to go about this? I know it just kind of steeples down until it hits the point where it's like, whatchamacallit, 3 across. Did I really forget the word for 3 across? I can be so goddamn dumb. Good thing I am sexy! You can tell I'm a little bit tired by the way I start getting rambly and weird. Though, I guess I'm always a little rambly and weird. But hey, I'm always a little bit tired, so... Whoop-de-doo. Alright, so then it should go... like... yeah. don't have a little stepping stool. I'm just gonna have to waste a little piece, but that's fine. Not a big deal. Let's, nope. I'll go a little bit more so that I have room in my pockets. This is low enough that I probably don't have to use the full-sided logs, but if I don't, I'll know, and I'll feel bad. This is probably an okay way of doing it. I worry it'll be too visible from above, though. It's probably low down enough to not matter. Probably. I can always, like, come back and cut it out if it's really bad, though, right? Ugh. I don't know. I just need to make myself a chest down here. I'm doing too much inventory juggling. Let's see, wait, no, I don't need that. I can just go like this, like this. We're just gonna temporarily, boop, 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 boop. We're gonna get a couple of those back. Grab one of these. Time for a shit ton of stairs. Let's grab 2 more of those so we can round out our number. And then I believe this will be lower slabs, though I'll have to check it against the ceiling. No, this goes back one more, because it goes next to this. Right? It should line up right if I have it. Yes, 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 yes. There we go. Bit by bit, we're figuring it out. I keep telling myself it's gonna be worth it, it's gonna look so cool in the end, but like, ugh. It's definitely very grindy. Maybe it'd have been better if I like put blocks for me to place these on so I can just run back and forth, but then I'd have to place more blocks, which I think would take longer probably, even if it would feel faster. Oh, hell yeah, bubblegum! You can't see it, but I'm headbanging. Oh, we have skies with gray. Oh, Sadie dear. Sadie does not have the same amount of syllables as bubblegum. I don't know why I thought that would work. Big stretch. You know, as a kid, I was so into the Warrior Cat series. I was kind of trauma bonded to them, which is a weird way of... let me clarify. So, the first time I read Warrior Cats was, like, 1st grade. Too early for Warrior Cats. Gonna be real with you. So, I didn't read the very first book because I couldn't find it, so I figured, like, well, maybe it's one of those series where you can jump in anywhere. Which, it's not. I don't know what gave me that idea as a small child, especially considering later in life I was very adamant about always starting at the first book, even if you didn't have to. But like, I just picked a random book that looked cool. I liked the cat on the cover, and I read it, and I was like, oh hey, this cat, I really like her. She's cool, she's competent, she's strong. She died brutally. Murdered by a mountain lion in a tragic, heroic sacrifice. I was like, 6. This traumatized the shit out of me, I'm telling you. So, I took the book back to the school library and did not read any more for several years. I read books, just not the Warrior Cats books, because, again, trauma. But then, like, as I got older, I was, like, still thinking about it. Like, I was kind of, like, obsessed with this book that I had to quit because it was so distressing to me. Eventually, I went back, and I started, I believe at the beginning of the Bramblefur story arc. Gosh, it's Brambleclaw, not Bramblefur. What am I talking about? You can tell I'm a little bit woozy right now. Anyway, I got very invested, and it still upset me when she died. I believe it was Feathertail. But, yeah. Very traumatizing, but I got very obsessed with warrior cats. I'd say it was probably my first very intense hyperfixation. It was certainly my first fandom, but like, I got really into warrior cats. Eventually, I found I kept looking for warrior cats games online. I wanted to find a game. I wanted to be able to play warrior cats. I wanted to live the life of these bloodthirsty, violent cats that just kept killing each other for power and for their clans, and it was like, they're intense books. Maybe I'm being a little over dramatic, but like, just a little. Anyway, so eventually, I did find a unofficial website where you could go to roleplay as warrior cats. And they had like several of like their own original clans and organizations and such. And eventually like it got so like it got further and further from book accuracy as years went on, to the point where I swear I saw somebody move. That creeped me out. Where like eventually dragons were allowed, which I do not think the Aaron's Hunter would ever introduce in their series. Gonna be real. But yeah, it got very, very far from its roots over the years. But like for several years, like this online message board where people pretended to be cats was like the center of my universe. I have a distinct memory of a time in my life where every single night I would stay up as late as possible, and because of the way my bedroom was angled, I would be able to like see the reflection of people in the living room from like a picture frame from my bedroom door. So I would stay up like well past midnight, watching through that window, waiting until my parents eventually went to bed. And so long as they went to bed before I got too tired to continue my vigil, I would sneak out of my room, I would check to see if the computer had been left logged in, and then I would spend basically till 4 a.m. role-playing cats in the dark. And like, I memorized the sound of the garage door opening so that when my parents got home, I could get off as fast as possible. I was allowed to play. Like, I wasn't like forbidden from using that website. It's just I used it so much, my parents were concerned about me. And to be honest, fair enough. Like, I spent so much time on that website, man. In fact, this website was mostly adult fans, which is not to say like it was like PG. It was PG-13 at most. There was no sexual content or intense gore or anything on the website, but it was mostly adult fans who wanted to roleplay with other adult quality writers. Well, something that I've always been very good at is writing. In fact, good enough, I don't think anybody realized I was a very small child, like first grade type level, whereas some of these people had children and mortgages. In fact, I became so active on the website, I was promoted to be a moderator. Yeah. When I was like still too young to have all my times tables memorized. I lost it like 1 week later because I just didn't do anything because I was too young to understand what I was supposed to do as a moderator. So I did not keep the job very long. But I apparently was mature enough that they were like, oh yeah, this is somebody we can trust to moderate. This is a mature individual. I have so many stories from my time on that website. Like, very, very weird stories. Mostly weird because of me. Most of the people on there were super chill and nice and just wanted to have some fun roleplay. which I cannot begrudge anyone. We're just gonna have to work around this for now because I don't want to live without my sweet, sweet taste. Anyway, so one particular story I remember is, although it was originally, I'm not surprised knowing you, I'm not sure whether to be complimented or offended, so I'm gonna take it as a compliment. Oh man. Anyway, so they also, in addition to the warrior cats, which over time drifted to be less and less warriors centric, eventually I think they rebranded it and made it like an original concept website, which, like, fair enough. It very, very much ceased. Originally, like, the stuff like dragons and stuff and like prophecy and various powers were something you unlocked in like a on-site store, but I don't think you could spend real money on it. You just got money from like role-playing and posting. Eventually they made it all free for everybody though, which it was really chaotic and crazy either way. Long story. Anyway, like I said, there was a section for other roleplays not themed around warrior cats. And like, one of the consequences of mainly playing in the middle of the night while everybody was asleep, in the pitch dark while my parents were asleep, most people on that website lived in America or Europe, and like the more western side of Europe. So there weren't a lot of people on at that time. So, first of all, I spent a lot of time just sitting there refreshing the window repeatedly at like 3 a.m. on a school night because I wanted somebody to reply so I could post more roleplays. I posted so many roleplay threads, like starter type things, like to start a roleplay, just because of like how much I wanted to roleplay. I was very addicted when I first got into it. I was addicted for a long time. Anyway, there was actually this one point where I was temporarily suspended, but that's a whole other can of worms. Anyway, too long of a story. In the section where it was like stories that you could roleplay besides warriors, I came across a Hunger Games roleplay. Now, I'd never read Hunger Games. First of all, because I was very young, but also, like, there were children my age, like, in my class who had read it, which, really, they shouldn't have. At our age, we were much too young. We were, like, my best guess is 3rd grade. It was a long time ago, but, like, we were young enough that I don't think we should have been reading a book about children murdering each other. But, like, I found a roleplay that was about the Hunger Games. And it was so active, and I wanted to be in an active roleplay, even though I had never read the Hunger Games, and it very much freaked me out in concept as a kid. Like, the idea of it just made me so freaked out. I eventually read it and actually thought it was pretty good, but, like, at the time, I was just like, oh my god, it's the book about people committing murder for fun. So, what I did, instead of, I don't know, looking for something that more suited my interests, or even reading the book so I could join the roleplay, I read the entire Wikipedia page. And then I was like, okay, I need to study this very carefully, so that if anyone asks, I can convince them that I have read the books. Which nobody did, because it's a roleplay, nobody cares. This roleplay actually had a really cool gimmick. Probably not, like, the most balanced thing in the world, but a cool gimmick. Where, the more posts you had, the longer you survived. And the person who won at the end was the person with the most posts. By the time I joined, it had been going for, like, pages and pages and pages. There were people with, like, 1,000 plus. Guess who came in 2nd place? There were people with 1,000 plus posts, and I still came in 2nd place because I was so addicted to this website that I was always on and always, like, replied every time I could. I don't remember a lot. I think my character was named Glass and was, like, edgy because I was a kid. All my characters were edgy because you know how kids are. They're edgy little weirdos, which, like, isn't a bad thing. Some edge is good for a young mind. gives you something fun to create with. But like, I spent so long on this incredibly dark, very violent and visceral roleplay, to the point where like I outpaced so many people. Oh man. And like, in retrospect, I don't think I was the greatest role player. Like, I wasn't actually that bad. Good enough to convince people that I wasn't a child. But like, I wasn't very good either. I was just kind of like, at best average, maybe a little bit below average. But like, I'd be scared of you if I was there. Dude. Like, when I say that, I would like, I usually would go to bed at like 5 a.m. if I could get away with it. And we would wake up at like 6:30 to get ready for school. I was obsessed. Nights I would be like really disappointed if I got out there and it was like, oh, my mom remembered to log out and I don't know the computer password, so I have to get a full night's sleep. Damn it! I was so obsessed. It got to the point where I got promoted to like the leader of one of the clans, which like was a big deal both in and out of roleplay, because like you kind of managed that part of the community while you were the leader. And like I had a character who got promoted to the leader, and honestly I wouldn't be surprised if it was purely based on how active and frequently I was on there. Man, I was so obsessed. As the site got more and more far from Warriors canon, I started doing like weirder and weirder characters. Like I had one character who was like a squirrel who was a member of the clan, and like even though this was a prey animal, she still helped them hunt and like do murder, and she was like very well aware of like how dark that was, and it was like a very interesting concept for a character. And then there was another one where like the character who got promoted to leader, he was the reincarnation of an angel who had been a human, but died tragically. And also he had wings when he was reincarnated as a cat, because that was something that you could do. You could pay the on-site currency to give your cat wings, which I did, as well as like a bunch of other powers I don't remember. But like, I just made the most like OP, angel, tragic guy cat. Honestly, like, I think, I'm not sure if that website did me more harm than good in the long run, because it did open up my awareness to a lot of mental health issues. Like, I learned about, like, various, like, mental health things and stigmas and, like, empathy from those roleplays, because a lot of people had mentally ill characters, though there was also like a lot of like psychopathic murderers who were like very two-dimensional and just did murder because it was fun, because you know, it's roleplay. Always gonna be a couple of those. But like, there was also a lot of really well written characters who like gave me a lot of empathy for mental health issues, which probably made it easier for me to accept it when I was diagnosed with mental health stuff. But then there was also, and this one is probably a bigger deal for me personally, a lot of gay and queer characters, which, as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a pretty religious area, still live there, so like, a lot of this was my first exposure to the concept of gay, and as someone who, as an adult now, is very much queer, like, it's good that I learned about that stuff. I didn't realize it was me for a long time, but like, I learned about it and I was like, okay, interesting. I don't think I had any characters who were gay myself, but like, I very much paid attention to all of the gay OCs people had, and I was like, huh, fascinating. So yeah, that probably made it easier for me to realize that I myself was queer, to have that introduction at a fairly young age. Learning about the gay through cats. Yeah. It was It was a weird time, man. Eventually, like, there were points where the hyperfixation was intense enough that, like, I would move all of my blankets and pillows into a circle to try and sleep in, like, a nest, like a cat in Warrior Cats. Oh, that reminds me, I also had this very long-running narrative. This is slightly separate, it's more related to the being in bed part. For, like, a good 10 years of my childhood, I had this long-running imaginary narrative that I would play to myself as I went to bed about my life in the Pokemon universe. And, like, most of it was very bullshit, intense Mary Sue, absolute dumbassery. But, like, there was also some, like, really interesting story beats, and some fascinating imaginary world building, and, like, I basically rebuilt the whole Pokemon universe to revolve around me, the god. Though it didn't start out that way. If memory serves, it started out with me being a Pokehuman, somebody who could transform between Pokemon and human, which at the time I thought I was, like, the person who invented that concept and was very pleased with myself. It's very common. Like, it's everywhere. But, like, at the time, I was still learning about internet stuff. I just realized I have no music. Play. No, give back my mouse. Oh no, it did that thing! It did that thing where it's hiding my... Fix! It's doing that thing again where it's making everything disappear. Okay, I'm gonna have to close the window and open it again so I can see the goddamn chat. Anyway, like, so it started out with me being like, okay, my character is Destiny, because, of course, I named my imaginary OC self-insert Destiny. Like, how original. Originale. Very creative, very good for a heroic main character. Anyway, she had black hair and I believe originally green eyes, though later I think I made them blue because I was obsessed with, like, black hair for the longest time. Don't ask why, I would not know. Anywho. Is it still not? Why is it so hard to make this thing work? I just want to see. I don't even know if I can close stream like this. Oh dear. It's fine. Let's get our music going. As long as I can see chat, it is acceptable. Anyway, so originally I had the power to transform into an Eevee. Later, I evolved into a Vaporeon, because Vaporeon was my favorite for a long time. And one thing led to another, and a couple years later, I'm God. I'm Arceus, which is the feminine, opposite to Arceus, but also more powerful than him, but also secretly Mew, but also Mew is secretly an Ultra Beast from another dimension, far more powerful than any legendary, but compared to the Ultra Beasts, weak, and also kind of like an Eldritch Horror, and also, like, the lore I built was very complex. I still can't see anything. Why is Streamlabs acting so weird?